On Monday, as part of an ongoing investigation into Tiffany Henyard's leadership of the South Suburbs.
FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has been following allegations of her misspending and joins us now with an update. Dane.
Yeah, we've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township.
Since the FBI started looking into Tiffany Henyard's alleged misbehavior, the ongoing scandal surrounding the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, has drawn a lot of attention. Records from the Tiffany Henyard Foundation are being sought by the FBI, especially those pertaining to transactions totaling at least $10,000. The swiftly growing evidence against Henyard has startled Dalton's trustees and local officials. Although officials have not disclosed specifics, the investigation started when FBI agents were observed questioning well-known Dalton residents. Long-standing claims that Henyard used her political position for personal benefit have fueled suspicions of additional misconduct, and this investigation has damaged her reputation as a super mayor.
Interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges. Did the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about?
Yes, very serious.
The FBI's investigation of Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, has led to a number of accusations and worries about possible mismanagement of public funds. The FBI interrogated 6 people, including the proprietors of a Dalton bus company, a former village employee, and at least one public official, who corroborated this to Fox 32. After refusing to back Henyard's candidacy, a number of these people disclosed that they were refused business licenses, casting doubt on the relationship between political influence and local business operations. Electronic surveillance was employed in the inquiry, according to Lawrence Gardner, which reveals a concerning aspect of Henyard's leadership. Investigators from the FBI are looking into Henyard's alleged misuse of public funds, including hundreds of thousands of dollars for police overtime for her personal safety and significant out-of-town travel expenses. They are also looking into her alleged use of public employees and resources for personal benefit, which seems to have caused delays and business licenses for a variety of establishments, including restaurants and adult businesses. In one such instance, Blaine Wood, the proprietor of a restaurant in Dalton, has been trying to renew his business license for almost a year. He feels that his license renewal has been delayed because he serves a number of the owner of George's Towing, Chasson House, has filed a complaint alleging that his business license was delayed because his company refused to endorse or contribute to Henyard's political campaign. The House welcomed the FBI investigation, stating that it was necessary for transparency in how taxpayer dollars are being spent. He also cited his involvement with the state group and his connection to the trustees, who signed a refusal to support Henyard. Dalton trustees involved in a political dispute with Henyard told him that he feels singled out because of his affiliation with certain people, which has led him to question the fairness of the process. FBI agents are still investigating Henyard's alleged misbehavior regarding delayed company licenses, political influence, and government funds. As the inquiry continues, questions about the mayor's leadership and possible corruption have been raised by local officials and business owners in response to her contentious use of resources for personal benefit. Many Dalton residents are hoping for increased financial accountability and openness from their public authorities because the issue has already clouded Henyard's administration, and additional revelations could increase the scrutiny of her time as mayor.
A couple of agents, and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork to show them what was happening in court and what was happening in Dalton, and they told me they was investigating.
Following years of corruption and supper administration under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration, the FBI's participation has finally given the residents of Dalton the chance to address these problems. Instead, the government is embroiled in allegations of financial malfeasance, self-interest, and a lack of responsibility in the small community that depends on its public servants to put the common good first. Henyard's leadership of the embezzlement of public cash and resources has further eroded popular confidence in local government, according to implied that putting one's own interests ahead of public service, the success of the community depends on efficient public services, and for the first time, Dalton has a real chance to escape a cycle of claimed inefficiency and exploitation. The hope today is for a future built on openness, financial accountability, and fairness. While the Hens administration lavished money on events, made controversial appointments, and let firefighters serve without contracts, roads have collapsed and fundamental community needs have been neglected. Unchecked spending. Henner's detractors now have new hope for justice after the FBI's involvement validated their suspicions. The federal probe marks a significant turning point for Dalton and has the potential to expose what many see to be a deeply ingrained network of favoritism and lying. The investigation is now considered a crucial step in restoring financial stability as well as the fundamental principles of fairness and integrity by public servants who have witnessed their hard-earned tax dollars being directed toward an administration with dubious goals. Many individuals think that federal intervention is vital for local government transformation, and the FBI's investigation is seen as a necessary step to restore Dalton's leadership to the people, prioritizing their needs above the aspirations of a select few. The people of Dalton are steadfast in their demand for accountability and a future where justice reigns, and they are dedicated to demanding substantial reform and making sure that future governance will actually benefit the community.
Out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dalton had received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI.
Public indignation in Dalton has been growing since it was revealed that the FBI had asked for records pertaining to Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration. Given that it represents a major turning point in the ongoing dispute regarding her leadership, this uproar is completely justified. The ongoing federal inquiry has now shed unprecedented light on our acts, foreshadowing a probable end to the reign of what many regard to be a severely flawed administration. Henyard has long been under examination for allegations of corruption, poor management, and self-serving behavior. The involvement of the FBI indicates that the suspicions expressed by the long-standing allegations of financial mismanagement and abuse of power seem to be supported by the locals and critics who have been taken seriously over the years. The FBI is working systematically with the agency to conduct the inquiry. Despite attempts by some members of Henyard's administration to minimize or disregard the importance of the investigation, the community at large sees it as a long overdue response to the grievances that have plagued the town during her tenure. Residents who have witnessed their town's reputation deteriorate and essential services deteriorate now see the investigation as a crucial step toward learning the truth and bringing those in charge to account. The mounting public calls for accountability and the investigation's mounting pressure suggests that what is happening is not a single isolated occurrence, but rather the result of years of suspected misconduct during H's administration. Details of Henyard's extravagant spending, including a contentious trip to Las Vegas in May of the previous year, are among the documents being sought, along with records pertaining to Henyard and a number of other people and organizations, such as charitable foundations and travel logs. In a legal complaint, Henyard and one of her associates, Andrew Holmes, were accused of assault and retribution by the former assistant of Hen and the A. Dalton police officer. The claims pertaining to the vacation to Las Vegas have only strengthened the suspicions regarding Hannah's abuse of authority and funds. Neither Holmes nor Hansard has responded to the case. On April 10th, the first subpoenas were sent out, requesting personnel and disciplinary files for almost 30 people associated with Hen's administration. These records are essential to comprehending the entire extent of what may be going on behind closed doors. Additionally, Keith Freeman is the subject of the subpoenas, the one that recently, a village administrator was charged with bankruptcy fraud. Despite the indictment, Freeman's lawyer has said he has no plans to resign. This development has only added to the growing number of scandals surrounding Dalton's leadership. Meanwhile, the law firm that represents the village in at least 19 lawsuits in Cook County and federal court has announced plans to withdraw from the cases in May due to non-payment. The town's inhabitants have long criticized Hen's refusal to permit this, and this circumstance underscores the town's severe financial instability and calls into question how taxpayer monies have been managed under his leadership. Henyard's decision to veto a proposal to look into her own behavior only served to increase public skepticism and outrage, raising further doubts about her intentions and igniting speculation about what she might be trying to hide. The timing of her opposition to an independent probe is particularly troubling to Dalton residents, who have grown increasingly fed up with an administration plagued by financial scandals. Many believe that giving her the chance to facilitate an open and transparent investigation into her actions was a crucial step that could have addressed the mounting accusations of corruption and misconduct. Poor administration, arbitrary hiring practices, and claims of reprisals against political rivals. Critics contend that H's actions have demonstrated a leader who is more focused on safeguarding her personal interests than meeting the needs of the community. This behavior has severely damaged public trust, and her refusal to permit an independent investigation has only made the community feel even more betrayed. As the federal investigation continues, many residents feel that H is abusing her position of authority to shield herself from the fallout from her actions. The recent arrival of FBI agents in the Dalton area, despite the agency not providing specific details about their presence, has only served to deepen the growing mistrust that she is concealing serious wrongdoing and that her actions have prioritized her personal interests over the needs of the people who elected her to work for them. Due to Department of Justice standards about active investigations, the FBI declined to speak further, even though they confirmed in a statement that they were carrying out court-authorized law enforcement operations. Quietness. Many members of the community are relieved that the FBI is now involved because they feel their long-standing request for assistance has finally been addressed after 3 years of watching their concerns go unanswered. Residents now see the FBI's presence as a hopeful sign that the truth will finally come to light. In addition to Henyard, there are growing questions about the network of power surrounding her administration. People in Dalton believe that the investigation centers on Henyard, who has been the subject of FBI inquiries for weeks. Keith Freeman is one of the main players in the scandal. He has been charged with purposefully understating his income in his bankruptcy case from both his workplace and a private source. The charges against Freeman, who is currently awaiting arraignment, are only one aspect of the larger picture that has raised questions about Dalton's leadership. The ongoing scandal has also led to a civil lawsuit against Henyard and Andrew Holmes, which was filed by the mayor's former assistant and a former police officer. The lawsuit claims that Holmes committed assault and battery while Henyard retaliated against the individuals involved. The alleged incident occurred during a meeting in Thoron Township following an economic. Due to the lawsuit and the growing criticism of Henyard's behavior, her leadership is now even more closely scrutinized than it was before her trip to Las Vegas last year. In one recent meeting, Henyard tried to address the town's budget and defend her administration, but residents resisted her attempts to steer the conversation. At one point, she ordered the removal of a resident who was accused of disrupting the meeting, which further fueled concerns about her leadership regarding firefighters. Henyard's actions, including her decision to try to silence critics and divert attention from the growing allegations against her, have raised serious concerns. Had long criticized the Hens administration and joined the growing number of people calling for responsibility. One firefighter further damaged Henyard's reputation by accusing her of embezzling money from the firefighter retirement fund. Many firefighters have been unwilling to criticize the mayor for fear of retaliation or consequences for their careers. Others have even claimed that they have been coerced into keeping quiet out of fear that their positions would be threatened if they continue to disagree with Henyard. A concerning picture of a leader more concerned with safeguarding her personal interests than with serving the public is painted by the growing accusations against Henyard. Claimed financial embezzlement, retaliation against opponents, and obstruction of transparency. The community is eagerly anticipating the truth to be exposed as the federal inquiry proceeds, and Hen's actions are increasingly perceived as a violation of trust that cannot be ignored. Residents' increasing public outcry indicates that they will no longer put up with the corruption and poor management that have characterized Henyard's leadership. The investigation aims to not only hold Henyard responsible for our actions, but also to rebuild trust in the local government and make sure that corruption does not continue to fester among the town's citizens. The FBI's involvement is seen as a crucial step in the right direction, offering hope that the town can break free from the cycle of mismanagement and dishonesty that has defined its leadership for far too long. Dalton is at a critical crossroads because the results of the federal investigation will either validate the long-held suspicions of its residents or lead to much-needed reforms in the town's leadership. For many, this investigation represents a last chance to uncover the truth, hold those responsible accountable, and rebuild the lost trust. Whether this chance for justice is fulfilled under Henyard's leadership is still up in the air, but one thing is certain: the residents of Dalton will no longer put up with the corruption, incompetence, and bad administration that have afflicted their community for far too long.
For the last 3 years, myself, the board members, and the residents have been feeling like no one was coming to save us in regards to providing us with the information that we need to make decisions regarding our finances with the village. So today I feel as if we're maybe one step closer.
As tensions in the community continue to rise, the city of Dalton is currently dealing with a federal investigation into Mayor Tiffany Henyard's actions. Despite the suspicion that surrounded her leadership, Dalton's firefighters remain committed to their work, keeping the community safe, and actively sought transparency from the mayor's administration. One of their main concerns is Henyard's travel benefits and compensation, which have come under intense public scrutiny, according to Julian Cruz of WGN. Dalton residents are clearly frustrated, especially after the Thornton Township Board of Trustees recently failed to pass their 2025 budget in full. This set off unrest in the 17 South suburban villages, with many residents expressing their displeasure with the township supervisor, Henyard, who is still under investigation for federal corruption despite growing criticism. Henyard was spotted having fun with her fans during a recent public hearing, which has only increased hostilities during an emotional public hearing. A local resident expressed their frustration with Henyard's actions, specifically her increasing spending across the board. She said, "You increase everything across the board as if you're trying to drain the money." This sentiment reflects the growing anger toward Henyard as her actions continue to cast doubt on her leadership. But Henyard insists that the money for these expenditures came from her own pocket, even if the money source is still unknown. This ambiguity has only led to more inquiries over her statements and intentions. One of the most contentious events was a community gathering that Henyard organized called the Friends of Tiffany Henyard Picnic. Although she claimed the event was not politically motivated, trustees refused to provide funding because of worries about its obvious connection to her campaign. The event included food giveaways and roller skating, which led many to believe it was an attempt to boost High's reputation in the face of mounting corruption accusations, rather than a charity event. In a subsequent Facebook post, Henyard's attorney refutes these allegations, claiming that the gathering was merely a community picnic. However, detractors contend that Henyard used public resources to further her political ambitions, especially by using her campaign branding on food items given out at the event, turning what was supposed to be a terrible event into a political rally. Video. Henyard justified her behavior by citing the food distribution event and stressing that she was acting in the township's food pantry. "We got green beans, we got potatoes, you name it," she said before begging God to lead the community and clear her name in the face of growing allegations of corruption. In addition, the Greater Chicago Food Depository, which has been in charge of food distribution programs, expressed concern about the way in which hens were handled. The shocking $117,000 cost of a roller skate event held in Dalton, which was first estimated to cost $29,000, according to town resources, has become another subject of dispute. Politicians should not exploit food pantry resources for their own political or personal benefit, according to critics, especially when such resources are intended to help the community's most needy residents. Despite this, the organization has remained defiant, asserting that people who want to control things they are unable to do will always. There are people like me who care about the community, and people always try to stop things they can't control, she said. Henyard has also characterized herself as a young, dynamic, and vivacious leader who would not be intimidated by the mounting accusations against her. However, this rhetoric hasn't done much to allay suspicions about her actions, as the investigation into Henyard's finances continues to uncover more troubling details. Taxpayers spent over $888,000 on hotel rooms associated with Henyard's activities, it has been discovered. This revelation, along with earlier allegations that Henyard regularly used public funds for political purposes, has only increased the level of mistrust in her leadership. The Illinois Attorney General had previously closed investigations into Henyard's charitable endeavors, making matters worse for the struggling mayor even though Henyard continues to face increasing pressure. God wanted me to lead the people, and he knew that I would not back down, she claimed. But many locals are unconvinced by her claims of divine intervention, which many see as a last-ditch effort to deflect attention from the very real accusations she is facing. The federal investigation into her activities is still ongoing, and the evidence against Henyard keeps growing with each new revelation. The lack of transparency surrounding her actions has merely increased public suspicion, and her apparent indifference to the seriousness of the situation has only made her reputation worse in the community. Her refusal to cooperate with the investigation or provide complete disclosure about her financial activities has caused many to doubt her dedication to the people she was chosen to serve, as the federal investigation has already revealed. Residents of Dalton and those following the case are waiting for justice and explanations regarding financial practices, which are currently the focus of national attention. Dalton is at a turning point in his life. The FBI probe is still ongoing, and the community's patience is running thin, continues to be a hot topic in public conversation as Henyard's leadership is questioned. The stakes are stronger than ever, and the investigation's conclusion could have a significant impact on both her political future and Dalton's governance going forward. Public demands for responsibility and transparency are becoming stronger as locals seek justice and answers for the alleged mismanagement and wrongdoing that have afflicted their town for years. Dalton is currently at a crossroads. The investigation into Hen's actions marks a significant turning point for the town. The discovery of evidence could either confirm long-held suspicions about her leadership or result in much-needed reforms that would restore faith in the community's governance for many residents. This is about more than just holding one person accountable. It's about restoring trust in local government and making sure that future leadership is subject to the strictest requirements for honesty and openness. Residents of Dalton are growing increasingly anxious for the truth to come to light as they await the conclusion of this investigation. They hope for a future where their leaders are held accountable, where transparency is the norm, and where the best interests of the community are upheld. The federal investigation into Henyard activities is far from over, and as more information becomes available, the pressure on May and her administration keeps increasing. Interests are always prioritized over individual goals. Whether or not that future materializes depends on the conclusion of the current inquiry and whether or not the residents of Dalton can regain the government that they feel has been wrongfully taken away from them. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.